Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Build Harem with Hanabi, Naruto X Harem, Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start a fanfic. Again Hinata, are you sure? Naruto asked his wife while she sat cozily on his desk, eagerly waiting for Hanabi's arrival. He's eager as well, but he couldn't very well sit in silence like this. Hinata grew a little irritated at him asking that again. He has asked, is she sure about this nearly every time he has said something. Don't get her wrong, she loves he is making sure to take her feelings into account, but, damn it she did agree to this. He needs to stop second-guessing her. Yes Hinata-kun, for the umpteenth time, I am sure about this. She growled, a little irritation present in her voice. She wishes Hanabi would hurry up as well. Even though she knows Himawari and Boruto are asleep at this time, she didn't want to entertain the possibility of them waking up with her not being there, she dreaded that in fact. Her husband chuckled. Did he mention he liked when she got snarky? It's a welcome contrast from her usual personality, a contrast that she didn't have at the start of their relationship. It's something he brought out of her, and he loved it. Don't get him wrong now, he loves his wife's usual personality, wouldn't change it for the world, he just also loved the fact that he could bring this side of Hinata out. I know, just wanted to fill the silence. He admitted, and that's true. She sighed. We talked about that a lot already. She whispered, and they did. He had came to her during his break and filled her in on events that happened prior to his break. Apparently her sister wanted to lose it tonight, so they had to fast forward their plan. They talked, in detail, about this. Only thing that needed to happen now is for Hanabi to come, and that's when the plan kind of gets jumbled really. He didn't know what her reaction would be, and neither did herself. Say, Naruto started interrupting her thoughts. He has a smile growing. She looked at him, he could see the stress of the situation on her face. I love you, he said, giving her a dazzling smile. And with that, he could see all the worry she had go away momentarily. Smiling, she blushed a deep red. And I love you too, Naruto. She replied, looking away. That's the smile he only does for her, and it really gets her insides burning with desire. She clenched her legs together. He knew that it did too. Naruto then smirked while he watched her shift. He definitely knew it did. Want to come over here and sit in your dear husband's lap? He asked, eyes sparkling with mischief. Hinata blushed. That was really tempting, too tempting. But she remembered her sister was supposed to be on her way. She couldn't do that while knowing her sister could walk in at any moment, could she? She couldn't. Hinata. They both froze as they heard the door open. Slowly, their attention went to it. Hanabi stepped in, her eyes surprised once she registered her sister. Hinata. The girl was the first to speak as she closed the door behind her. She hadn't seen her sister since she had gotten back, not that she made an effort, she would have seen her tomorrow, once the deed was done. But she was here. Now, as she about to get done, why is she here? The elder sister just looked at the younger. Naruto had told her about the bruise. She didn't like seeing it on her sister at all, but she knew the man that put it there was probably hospitalized. Hi Hanabi, she said with a light wave. Why are you here? The younger sister asked instead of exchanging pleasantries. It's not that she isn't happy to see her sister. But she was planning on getting broken in by her sister's husband, like right now. Can you see her dilemma? She didn't exactly want Hinata here right now. Her eyes went to Naruto. He has a light grin on his face. Could she have? No way. Hinata wouldn't have. I was hoping we could talk. She said with a sigh, had to get this over with one way or the other. She glanced toward Naruto. He gave her a reassuring smile. That comforted her. He's here with her, they are doing this together. Her attention went back to Hanabi. About. Her sister replied calmly, despite her inner turmoil. There's no way Hinata would tell him. She kept saying in her head, if you couldn't trust Hinata of all people, you couldn't trust anyone. Looking to her husband, Hinata opened her mouth, then closed it. As eager as she was to start this, she didn't feel up to the part. Her eyes returned back to Hanabi, who was glaring at her now. The elder sister was taken off guard by it. It's been a while since her sister looked at her with such anger. You told him, didn't you? Hanabi blurted out. She didn't want to believe it, but all signs pointed to her sister told him. She crossed her arms as a deep frown formed. If you didn't want it to happen, all you had to do was say so. She spoke icily as she glared. She didn't add, you didn't have to go behind my back and ruin everything, bitch. She didn't want to be that cold. This is still her dear elder sister. She should be grateful Hinata allowed it go so far. Actually, Naruto finally chirped in, getting their attention. He didn't like the tension between them, and this definitely is not the way he wanted this to go. I found out about your suitors on my own. I am the Hokage, he said, with a hint of pride. He smiled as both of the Hyuga eyed him. Hanabi's eyes widened at that. Did this mean he knew earlier in the day? But that wouldn't make any sense, as he had stopped her from leaving, but then again he stopped them from too. She's so confused at this point, she could feel her own head spinning. When? How long? She sputtered, wanting some answers. She wanted her words to not sound so light, but they did. It seems she couldn't be harsh with Naruto. He found out after you left. I didn't tell him. Hinata spoke up, getting her sister's attention. She smiled at her. I didn't tell Naruto about the suitors, but he came to me asking about if I knew everything that was happening. She said, then paused. She put obvious emphasis on everything. Hanabi got the meaning. I couldn't lie to my husband Hanabi, not to his face. She said lowly, looking to the floor. Her sister sighed. So Hinata hadn't betrayed her like she thought. And she knew Hinata wouldn't lie if Naruto ever asked her directly. She couldn't fault her there. That means her and his marriage is strong. Where does this leave me? She asked, looking between them. Had they come to put it off, her off? Was what happened earlier him trying to get a last feel in? She's still confused apparently. Husband and wife exchanged glances. Moment of truth. Naruto nodded at his wife. Well, Hanabi. She started getting her sister's attention. We talked long and hard about this. She gulped. But Naruto would still like to give you what you want, she said as she paused, not finished, but letting Hanabi digest what she heard. The younger Hyuga's eyes flew to Naruto. He smiled at her. That's unexpected, she thought as a blush formed, so he wanted to her still. She shouldn't be surprised. She saw how much he wanted to earlier with his looking like it was about to explode. She looked back to Hinata. She wasn't naive. Sure she definitely is, but not in business. But, she asked, there's always a but. But, I'm a selfish man, Naruto said, getting her attention. She gave him a confused look mixed with a, are you serious? Look. Naruto and selfish didn't belong in the same sentence. I would never let Hinata leave me without a fight. I'd fight her for her love and her luscious body back even if I didn't deserve it, he informed. Hanabi grew even more confused. What is he getting at? Hinata, however, blushed a deep red. It's not like she hasn't heard him praise her body before, but never in front of someone else. When in private, it's sweet and makes her insides churn. But in front of an audience, it's embarrassing and still makes her insides churn. You see, Hinata is my woman. She gave her all to me, and I to her, he explained simply. And that's beyond true. Hanabi still is insanely lost at what he is getting. She knows Hinata and her husband love each other. She was never trying to come in between them. Only thing this little ramble he's seemingly doing is making her slightly jealous, 'cause she wants what they have. What woman or man doesn't? Probably a crazy person. And you want to give your all to me? He asked, looking at her with a warm smile. And she heard hope in his voice too. She blushed a bit, as light understanding of his ramble dawned on her. Hinata gave him her body and her undying love and loyalty, and he to her. Well, his loyalty was definitely tested. only because Hinata tipped her on how to test it, and how to ace it. Did he want her to do the same? She looked from Naruto to Hinata. Her sister is smiling at her warmly, no hint of it being forced. Are they serious? I can't let you walk away once you give yourself to me, Hanabi, especially not to a damned suitor who you don't even love. He explained despite her silence. Hinata gave him a reassuring look. Before he spoke again, Hanabi put a hand on her hip, a large smirk spreading across her face. So let me get this straight. She started, full understanding washing over her. She didn't need to hear any more. You found out about the suitors. Then you confronted Hinata, then she spilled everything. She continued. Hinata wanted to cut in but didn't, she really doesn't like how that sounded. Then you probably plan long and hard. She said with a light giggle. Long and hard, with a thick surrounding, reminds her of something. And then I return, make plans to lose it tonight, which should be right now. She says. Naruto was still smiling at her, hadn't faltered once, but it did just now as she said that. You go get your wife to ambush me when I come. Wait, that's no. Hanabi interrupted her interrupter. Let me finish please, Naruto. She says, giving a genuine smile. He looks at her more intensely, but nods. She blushed at the look. She kind of likes it. Then you let me know that you still want to be my first, but. She paused. She licked her lips. But the catch is, you also want to be my only. She finished finally, looking at him. The intense look was gone. He looked hopeful. Okay. She chirped with a wide grin. Okay. Naruto and Hinata responded in unison, completely shocked. Hinata thought she was building all that up for some epic, you two are nuts type letdown, but not a simple, okay. Naruto on the other hand, was expecting something of the same line, just harsher. He didn't know why, but an okay. That's a bit anticlimactic. Yes, okay. I might more than like you at this point. I also didn't think I could just walk away from you after all this was done. She explained while looking at Naruto, and how could she? If the is godly, and she already knows his is going to leave a lasting impression, no pun intended, his is huge, his print will be there for a long time after, she knew that much. How could she just leave? She looked to Hinata. I figured. Hinata said softly, her tone friendly, a smile on her face. Well, I guess that's a relief. Naruto blew out a breath after saying that. I guess all that's needed to worry about now is the suitors. He sighed. He hoped dealing with that was as easy as this turned out to be. Hinata nodded. She could talk to her father and get him to back up, she knows she can. Oh yeah, about that. Hanabi started, getting both their attention. She grinned at them both. You don't have to worry about them anymore. You see, after what happened with the last one, I voiced my extreme displeasure with father about being married off, and he happened to agree. She said, her grin turning sly. Their eyes widened. He even allowed me to choose who I want to be married to now. She finished looking at the shocked couple. Or was she a part of the couple now? She didn't add that her old man had informed her on how bad he felt about how he handled Hinata and Naruto. She highly doubted the two wanted to hear that. She knows her father isn't a saint. Wow. Naruto sounded, looking at Hanabi in amazement and shock. Amazement cause she just gave him some of the best news that's on par with Hinata saying and their kids obviously and the getting the Hokage title, and twice too. Shock cause, seems that Hiashi wasn't that much of a shit after all. Barely though, he was still a shit to his elder daughter. Hinata's on board with Naruto in that sentiment. Guess all that leaves is for you to pound my. Hanabi said, unabashed. Hanabi. Hinata shrieked, going beet red. The blonde Hokage simple groaned. What? You can join. I mean I've never. Thought of you like that, but we ain't doing that, but we can definitely coexist as we mess with the same though. She explained, complete oblivious to her sister's utter embarrassment, and to Naruto's groan. Sure. She saw them having, got aroused too. But she's never thought of her and her sister in that way, but could she? Hanabi looked at Hinata. She didn't have to feel for her sister in that way. But maybe in the future, she could definitely see herself touching her sister in that way. Maybe for Naruto's birthday or something. It'll definitely be a thought she'd have to get used to. No. I was gonna go ho. Ooh, you are going to leave me alone with your husband so he could ravish me till morning. She laughed out, taking how embarrassed Hinata looked right now, well all throughout this little talk actually. And no, I have to make sure. It's okay Hinata, stop teasing my wife Hanabi. Naruto spoke, trying make his tone normal, but failed, huskiness slipped through. I wouldn't want our children to wake up with you not there either. He said to his wife, giving her a loving smile. He knows her well, she smiled back at him. Oh Na-kun, I thought I was going to be your wife too. Finally time Hanabi asked teasingly. She had teased Hinata a little more before she left. Of course she had gave her full blessings just before leaving with a cheery have fun, and Hanabi, don't get pregnant. Naruto had almost fainted upon hearing that. She reassured him that she took those pills. 2 of them just to be sure, she trusted them, results don't lie do they? It works. Not that it really matters. The Hokage gulped, he's very excited. How could he not be? You want to lose it here? He said gesturing to the whole office, he didn't know why he asked. Maybe she wanted to lose it in a nice comfy bed. She smirked mischievously at him. Of course. She replied, looking over his desk, filled with boring Hokage work. We started here. We're gonna end it here. She said as she pushed all contents on the desk to the floor. Naruto looked a tad bit ticked off, he'll have to clean that up later after all. She then stared at him. Well, she asked. He raised an eyebrow at her. What did she want? He'd thought she'd go all bitch in heat and climb over the desk for her pounding. He sighed. What do you want Hanabi? He asked, standing up to his full height. She licked her lips. Had he always been this tall? She thought as she looked up at him. Of course he has. He's been sitting down on all of her visits. Well, almost. That one time he did stand, but she was too lost in lust to really appreciate his height. Guess. She said coolly, crossing her arms under her chest. She's wearing a kimono, not her modified kimono. Her dad had found that one and burned it. Luckily he thought it was an old kimono of hers. She's wearing her usual tan kimono, though it's easily removable. Naruto eyed her for a moment. You want me to lay on the desk? He asked cautiously. She did push everything on it to the ground, if she wasn't going to get on it like a bitch in hit. Maybe she wanted him to. Like a fox in heat, he'd never see himself as a dog. To his surprise, she shook her head, but still looked as though she wanted him to keep guessing. I'm afraid that was my best guess. He said sheepishly, I smiling at her. You saw me, she said abruptly. His eyes widened a bit before going back to normal, obvious wonder on his face. I want to see you. She continued, finally giving him a lustful look. Her tongue ran across her bottom lip. She saw his eyes drop, watching the motion she just did. He nodded. It's only fair after all. His hands slowly went to his sweatshirt. He grabbed the zipper. Giving one last sigh, he pulled it down, then shrugged off the shirt altogether. He waited a bit before going for his pants. Cammy. He heard. Hanabi eyed him up shamelessly. Does he always wear nothing under that? She didn't care right now either way. He's built. Not in the unappealing way mind you, but for a man of his size, he's well put together. And the tan. She blew out a breath. Damn Na-kun, you've been hiding all that under that jacket. She questioned as she marched around the desk to feel up his abs. He chuckled, fighting back the need to correct her that it was a sweatshirt. He moaned when she flicked his nipple, on purpose. Want me to lose the pants or not? He asked, looking down at her with a raised eyebrow. She ignored him for the moment. She leaned forward to lick one of his pecs. After she did, she chanced him a glance. He was looking at her with a raised eyebrow. What? She sounded innocently as she licked another one. A body like yours deserves to be worshipped. She added while she licked another one, this time, kissing it too. She wasn't lying either. She wondered if Hinata did the same thing upon seeing him without a shirt. Naruto won't lie, that inflated his ego, and made him painfully hard, but she ignored his question. Pants. Or, no, pants. He grounded out as she continued to lick and kiss his pecs. Her soft lips and warm wet tongue is really doing things to him. His hands twitch, he wanted to touch so bad. But control. She grinned, looking down toward his lower region. She could see the large bulge. She'd bet his is just about to explode. Her hand went to it. He stilled once he felt her hand on it. We can't have you coming too soon, she said seductively. She felt it twitch. To her surprise, she heard him laugh. She looked at him, confused. I can come as many times as you can make me, he informed, biting back the part he was gonna add, which is, just ask Hinata. She looked at him for a long while before a smile, a dark one, spread across her face. Maybe he should have kept that to himself. The grip on his cloth tightened. Let's test that, she said darkly as her other hand worked its way down. She unbuttoned the pants first, then grabbed the zipper and undid. Then in one fell swash, his large rod was out, standing proud and raging hard. Oh look Na-kun Jr., you're about to explode, she spoke lovingly to his. He groaned as his member twitched. You're a naughty one, he mumbled. She heard it. Both her hands wrapped around his, hard. He groaned loud. You really want me to come right now, Hanabi? He asked huskily as she shot him an innocent smile. Damn vixen. Stroking him once with both hands still on him, she nodded. Of course, mister. I can come as many times as you can make me, she mocked before looking back at his. Even though both her hands are on it, the thing still is incredibly large, or are her hands just small? Consider this first of many times. I will make you come tonight, she said while she begun stroking him at a steady pace. And she silently hoped in her head that that wasn't an empty promise. He looked down, deciding to watch as she jerked him off. He's close to release, so she won't have to wait long or work hard. Then he remembered something. You want my cum on that silky kimono? He asked, running his fingers on the smooth silk. His twitched in her hand, as if saying hell yes. She chuckles, still stroking him, watching as his pre-cum shoots out. Wouldn't mind, she moaned, pulling herself closer to him whilst removing one of her hands, her other one still stroking him. She rubbed his against her silk kimono. She'd have to throw this one in the trash. She wasn't planning on explaining the stain to anyone. Not like she had a shortage of kimonos. This wasn't even one of her favorites. A groan told her he liked that very much. She looked at him with a sly grin. Coming soon, she asked while her hand she wasn't using went around to squeeze his cheek, her other one still stroking him. She squeezed his firm one more time before pinching it lightly. Naruto looked down at her surprised. He's definitely coming soon. Damn, you're so unpredictable, he cooed, dipping his head down into her neck and started licking it. Of course he's licking the side of her neck, that's clear, and doesn't have a faint bruise. He heard her soft moan while he sucked on her skin. She continued stroking him, and lightly massaging his cheeks. She could feel the wetness he was leaving on her. She could even feel a trail of his saliva going down her chest. She grinned at that. Hanabi would rather have a hickey by a man she more than likes than an angry bruise by some that tried to force himself on her by choking her. She sighed as she felt his hand rub her back while he continued sucking on her neck. She couldn't be angry at the moment. She has to remember that was gonna be in the hospital for years after what her and her father did to him. Unconsciously, her grip on him grew tighter and tighter. Naruto groaned hard. Oh shit, he moaned, biting into her neck. He came as he felt her freeze her movements. His hands wrapped around her tight while his cum shot on her kimono in hand. Hanabi pulled her face back to watch his face while he came. Did all men make faces of such concentration when they came? Was he trying to control it? She giggled lightly as she started stoking slowly, miking him despite the tight hold he has her in. She wouldn't allow him not to fully enjoy himself, especially now that she is one giving it to him. He would enjoy every second of this completely. Fuck. He groaned as he unleashed one last load on Hanabi's kimono. If he didn't know better, he'd put money on that she had done that before, but he didn't want to lose his balls with such a accusation, plus he knows it's false. She could be a tempting vixen one minute then a innocent wallflower the next. He sighed before releasing his hold on her slightly. He noticed she's staring intently at him. Was she looking at him while he was climaxing? He liked that thought a lot. His semi-hard erection went back to full attention in her warm hand. Never sated. He watched as a sly smirk formed on her lips. Well, what do ya know? She started leaning back to look down. Her kimono is drenched in his cum and there was a little bit of it on her hand, but that wasn't why she looked down. His was back at its full size just after coming not even a second ago. You weren't lying, she stated, giving the large thing a firm squeeze. Naruto chuckled. He would never lie, he couldn't in fact. Plus he's sure he would be horrible at lying. His twitched in her hand. He looked down, first noting that she ran her thumb across the head of his, then noticed her kimono has his cum splattered almost everywhere in the general area he came. Looks like you're gonna have to lose the kimono, he whispered huskily, stepping back from her, slightly bemused at the loss of her touch, on his end. Yeah, she moaned while she started loosening the kimono in a hurry. The fire in her was burning at all-time high. She needed him, right now. She hardly noticed him pulling off his pants as her kimono fell off her shoulders and to the floor. He eyed her up just as she did him earlier, shamelessly. He looked to her perky first. A smirk started to form on his face. The abuse he did to them days ago was still noticeable. He left his mark on her. His eyes went lower to her womanhood. His smirk faded a bit. She shaved. He wished she would have kept that line of hair she had. He shook his head. That's for the future discussions. The more important thing he saw right now as he eyes her nether region up is, she's practically dripping wet. Her juices were running down her leg even. He licked his lips. You gonna stand there and eye me or? She paused as she stepped toward him. His erection pressed against her abdomen. She heard him suck in a breath. Are you finally gonna break me in? She teased, batting her eyelashes at him. Naruto growled. Hell, this girl knows how to push him. He thought as he smashes his lips to hers, much to her surprise. When she gasped at his sudden action, he took that chance to plunge his tongue into her mouth. She moaned into the kiss. She wasn't about to let him dominate her mouth though. She used her tongue to run across his. They got tangled as their tongues did battle. She felt his push forward a bit, his warm pre-cum sliding down on her belly. His right hand made its way down to her nether region. He pressed his index finger to her clit, loving the heat that radiated off of her and from her. She twitched as he pressed hard on the pleasure spot, gasping into the kiss again. Her hands came up to grip his arms. She lost the battle of their tongues when he touched her cheater. She could only moan as she felt his invading tongue run across her teeth, over her dominated tongue and even rub against the roof of her mouth. She clenched her eyes shut. This is definitely a new feeling, she liked it. Is this what sucking faces meant? She froze when she felt his thick finger leave her clit to run across her absurdly wet slits. She would be embarrassed at how horny she is if she cared at the moment. Surprising her a bit, she felt his tongue retract back into his mouth. She didn't waste to dive her tongue into his mouth, exploring him like he did her. But it was short-lived as she felt the finger that was teasingly rubbing up and down her folds, push forward. Her head whipped back, breaking their mouth war as she let out a moan. Oh yay, she sounded while the finger pushed as deep as it could before pulling back and plunging forward again, setting a slow pace. The blonde smirked mischievously. He wanted to her. His twitched in agreement, shooting out a little more pre-cum. But first he needed to return the favor. She made him cum, he'll make her cum. Like that? He asked while he brought his face down to her chest. Time to get reacquainted with those pink nubs. Hanabi yelled out as she felt his mouth in left nipple. She could barely form a coherent thought. She was close. If she could, however, she'd tell him to go easy on her chest. He left them abused last time. But most of all, it was embarrassing having her maid rub ointment on her sore chest and not being able to tell her how they got like that. Running his tongue around her areola, he added his middle finger with his index, then thrusted them both in her. She clenched around his her. Speechless, he teased, turning his attention to her other nipple. He liked her like this, that means he's doing a supreme job. Instead of responding, she couldn't trust her voice to properly respond with a understandable sentence. She growled at him, which to him sounded much more like a moan than anything else. Not that he would be intimidated nonetheless, cause he is finger her, and her hips, whether voluntary or not, were meeting his strokes. She grabbed his hair, which pressed his face further into his chest. He held back a chuckle. Her nipple going a little deeper into his heated mouth. Not that he minds, he loves ravishing them. If she couldn't talk, nor should he. Ah, she moaned closer to his ear. He could tell she was coming soon. He picked up his pace, his fingers slicing in and out of her at a pace she has never felt before. Her eyes rolled, her mouth hanging open. At the end of each dive of his fingers, he curved them and then separated them before putted them back together, then pulling them out. He repeated that motion. The room was filled with the wet sound of him fingering her at an insane pace. Her hands left his hair and instead, her arms wrapped around him. See coming, she moaned, then bit down on his neck to stop a loud scream from alerting all of Konoha. Naruto ignored the pain as he continued at set his pace. She came soon after, the bite on his neck drawing blood. He could hear her muffled scream of bliss. He fiendly slowed his pace as he leaned his head back. Her nipple popped out of his mouth, completely drenched with his saliva. He felt her slump on him. He didn't give her time to breathe. Naruto pulled his fingers out of her hot core, then picked her up and laid her across the desk. She panted, not even wondering what he was doing. She just came after all. You keep giving me amazing orgasms, she said idly, lost in her own mind. She could feel the cool desk on her backside. Was he prepping her for the finale? Even if he was sure, she said that absent-mindedly, his ego still inflated. The next one is gonna be mind-blowing, he chirped as he angled himself so he was in between her legs. He pulled her legs apart wide while looking at her womanly bits. She still looks amazingly tight despite coming like she just did, though she was gaping a bit, barely noticeable really. Her mind came back to her as she raised her head to look down. His hovered above her waiting cunt. His big didn't look too daunting anymore for some reason. She didn't have to tell herself she wasn't sacred anymore. 'Cause for some odd reason, she really isn't. Are you waiting for an invitation? She asked, raising her eyebrow at him. She damn sure wasn't going to beg, now of all times. She's sure her flushed face and shivering body gave him all the right signs. She heard him chuckle. He took hold of his, then rubbed his head against her folds, coating it with her womanly juice. Hearing her groan, he flicked her and was satisfied when her whole body twitched. Stop teasing me, she growled. Looks like she'll have to beg after all. He ignored her protest in favor of rubbing his against her. Naruto, she moaned when he pressed his to her clit again. This time he pressed down, her insides clenched. Could she come from this? By the way, the heat in her raged. Her answer is yes. She didn't want that. She wanted him in her next time she climaxed. Please, Naruto, she begged finally. She's definitely gonna kick him in the balls tomorrow. He grunted. He couldn't stop it no more. When he ran head across her lips one last time, he pushed forward, separating her lips. Yes, she moaned as he pushed forward more. He sighed. She seemed to not be showing any signs of pain. So, in one thrust, he pushed in as far as he could. Quote exclamation mark quote. He heard her roar. There is a lot of pain, but that is pretty much outweighed by pleasure. She can feel him everywhere. She couldn't even begin to describe how this felt. Naruto stilled himself, his eyes closed, the mantra of, she's a virgin going through his mind, as to not completely ravish her. Though there is one thing off, he didn't feel any break of skin. he didn't feel he pushed past something. It isn't uncommon for young female ninja to break their barriers from hard training. He opened his eyes to gaze at her. He could see she was biting her lips now. It felt like she was trying to squeeze his as tight as she could, and he had half the mind to tell her to squeeze tighter. It felt beyond phenomenal. Hanabi? He asked, getting her attention. She could guess what kind of questions he had for her right now, but all she really wanted was for him to goddamn start her. I only feel a slight pain, most of it is pleasure, please move. She said hurriedly. She was lying, of course, on the slight pain. He was stretching her beyond her limits. That hurts like a mother. But it is becoming less and less, so she won't be lying in a few minutes or so. This girl is something else. Naruto gave her a light smile. I was gonna ask if you remember ever bleeding from your tight little. He grounded out. He slowly pulled back, then went forward. Definitely a tight little. She saw stars, then shook her head. She wanted to remember this feel as he started finally her. She looked at him, remembering what he just said. This is so not the time for that, but she will humor him. Yes, after training a few years ago, she said, confirming his suspicion. She rocked forward as he thrust it in. She couldn't stop her moans anymore. She also didn't want to tell him her father went blue when he found she was bleeding from her lady bits. He apologized profusely. She didn't know why at the time. She found out later though. Hanabi shook her. No time for that. Thinking of her father at this point of time is really a major turnoff. Should have told me. He teased as he increased his pace. His hands grabbed her hips to keep her in place. He finally looked down at their combined. He moaned. He wasn't even fully in. Most of him is even so. That is, however, not what really is turning him on even more right now. Her little is wrapped around him like a glove, a very tight, wet, hot glove. He thrust it hard, loving how she took his large rod. Hanabi saw stars again. She could not shake it away this time. She could feel him everywhere. He is hitting everywhere inside her. Her legs wrapped around him, pulling him close. You gonna bite me again? She heard him say very close to her ear now. With this new position, he couldn't thrust long and hard anymore, but he was okay with rough and short, which is exactly what he did. She moaned out in ecstasy. She grabbed his shoulders to pull him down to her. Then she did exactly what he just said. She bit him, this time on the other side. He laughed despite the pain in his neck. The pain and pleasure feels great oddly. He also wasn't aware if she knows if she made his go deeper by pulling so close like this. He didn't have to see it to know it, to feel that he was completely in her now. Her is more accommodating than he would have ever thought, or are Hyuga women machines? He grinded into her even with the thoughts. She released him from her bite to give out a loud uncontrolled cry, moan. You're everywhere in me. She screamed in pure bliss. He hoped the building is clear. He did give everyone the night off, but you never know. Hanabi didn't know how many times she would say or think that, but, it's true, he's hitting every spot in her, every thrust and moment he made, she is seeing stars, and moaning like a slut. She didn't know whether it's just her inexperience talking or just the pure fact he has a massive. She thinks it's the latter. Naruto blew out a breath. She's constricting around him so wonderfully, but he knew how to control himself, if only a little. And by the way she was thrashing around and her moans seemed to be growing louder, she's coming again soon. He pressed his lips to hers. Instantly, her hands went to grip his hair to deepen the kiss. Of course, her mouth being already open gave him much too easy access to her tunnels. She didn't even fight him either. She couldn't fight anymore. She felt her own bliss start to unravel itself in her and boil to the top of erupting, and this was going to be her best orgasm yet. She could just feel it. Breaking their kiss, he looked at her. Go ahead, Hana-chan, come for me, he said huskily, deciding to give her a nickname like she gave him. Not to mention, he could see her eyes start to glaze over. He watched her face as she was about to climax just like she did him. He continued to thrust rough and merciless. She couldn't fight it even if she wanted to at this point. Her back arched into him, her eyes shutting tight as a long, loud moan that was sure to wake all of Konoha escaped from her. Naruto. She roared his name as she came harder than she ever has before. Her walls clamped down on him tighter than he could ever imagine, and that heat wave that ran through her tunnels, intense. She started spasming, her hips twitching up and down. That caused his own release, which he had been fighting to run straight to the finish line. He moaned silently, coming in her. She just got unnaturally tight. It has to be unnatural, was the thought as he pumped his sperm into her, no longer grinding into her. Not to mention she started grinding on him, rather unconsciously or not. Hanabi was long gone, his cum shooting into her tunnels only prolonged her climax. She spasmed once more before slumping on the desk, her legs falling off him, her arms too. She felt weightless, she didn't feel like she was on Earth. She was on a blissful cloud. Her eyes are still closed, she could hear her own rugged pants. The blonde Hokage didn't slump on her, he knew he'd crush her if he did, instead he held himself up, his hands pressing on the desk on either side of her face. He needed to learn how to not come inside, Kami knows he already has strong sperm. He also wanted to ask her if that blew her mind, but by the look on her face, if it didn't blow her mind, it was close, and he'd take it. He's sure he would have plenty of chances to blow it in the future. His was still semi-erect, never sated. Naruto stilled as he heard the door open abruptly, he looked toward its direction as it opened fully. He's completely surprised to see the person at the door, he hadn't expected to see them till morning. Hinata? He asked. His wife smiled at the sight as she walked in, then locked and closed the door behind her. She had went home, checked on the kids, they are soundly asleep, tried to go to sleep herself, but she couldn't, she got horny, can you blame her? Have you seen her husband? On her way here, she told herself, she only needed to do it once and she was off back to home, just scratch a inch, a quickie. Hinata looked at the scene before her, she watched as Naruto backed off of Hanabi, she could see the trail of cum connecting from his to her sister. She frowned. Hinata, you need to learn not to cum inside. She reprimanded. He really did, even if Hanabi has take the pills, Naruto still has very strong sperm, look at their children for example, they have a lot of their father's features. He gave a sheepish smile. Sorry, he said looking her over, she's wearing one of his shirts which is too large for her and slippers. Had she been getting ready to sleep and came here? For what? Everything okay, dear? He asked, concerned etched into his voice. Hi again, Hinata. Hanabi chirped, getting their attention. She had finally come back from her little high, well, not little, high. She is still laying down on the desk, her head tilted to look at her sister. Our husband here gave me quite the orgasm. She informed and watched as Hinata blushed. The younger sister then noticed the hard nipples. I'll assume you want one too? She asked, raising up. She felt so full and sore, very sore. The Hokage blinked stupidly. Is that why you are back? He asked hesitantly. At her darkened blush, he blinked stupidly. He didn't expect to Hanabi and Hinata in the same night so soon, the very thought made his painfully erect again. I couldn't sleep. She sighed truthfully, looking at her husband's hard, her insides practically quivered with want. She pointed to his erection. That's why, she said as she took a step toward him. That also was a true statement. Naruto chuckled as his wife stopped in front of him, her eyes never leaving his erection. This place will smell like for a week, he said as her hand touched his wet, she gripped it firmly just like he loves. He felt sorry for Shikamaru as he would be stepping in for Naruto very soon and would have to deal with the smell. Just once, then I have to get back home. She whispered to him lovingly, she looked up at him then pressed her lips to his for one moment. She started stroking his at a normal pace. That sounds like she wants a quickie. He thought as he brought a hand up to grope his wife's large, she reacted to his touch immediately. He looked at Hanabi. You don't mind watching, do you? He asked, causing Hinata to remember that her sister was in the room. Hanabi laughed at the joke. She's sure he didn't even intend. Oh, go ahead, I was gonna leave you hanging anyway, she said as she got off the desk and she sat in his chair. She saw the confused look he gave her. I came hard 2 times just now, plus I took a big. I need to rest my. She informed. Naruto nodded. He would have let her go anyway if she was that sore. But I do like to watch, she said with a smile. They both know she watched them have before, so they didn't need to really be shy about anything in that regard. The older Hyuga held back a giggle as her husband sat her on the desk. She laid back, lifting the shirt over her nether regions, watching as her husband begins to realize she isn't wearing underwear. He growled. You and your sister. He mumbled. He bent down so his face was at her core. He gave his wife one long lick. Moaning, Hinata looked toward Hanabi as her husband started licking her, then toward the ceiling. She didn't expect him to do that. Wow, her sister sounded while Naruto dove his tongue into her wet. You're gonna have to do that to me next time, she added. She didn't sound jealous, just anxious. He hadn't done that to her. And it looks like it really feels good. Naruto hummed in agreement. That's what he forgot to do, to taste her tight. No matter, he'd have another time to do that. For now, he'd ravish his wife with his tongue and enjoy her sweet moans. How long has it been since I gave you a good tongue lashing? He asked her as he ran his tongue over her clit before sucking it in. He's enjoying every second of this. She still tasted good. She must have washed up really nice before coming. A while. She moaned softly. She looked down at him. Their eyes instantly locked as he worked her very good. Anata, please. You know what I want, she said to him. She saw him nod. As much as she loved his licking skills, she didn't come here for foreplay. Giving her slit a kiss, he rose. Looking toward Hanabi, he gave her a devilish smirk. He angled his wife so that the younger sister could see her. He wanted her to see him. Hinata. This is how easy it will be to have in the future, he said before pushing into Hinata slowly. They both groaned. Hanabi wanted to turn away. This is still her sister. But she couldn't. Maybe she was a voyeur or something. Plus she was kind of amazed at how easy his slid into Hinata, all the way to the hilt in one push. Her sister loved every second of it too, no pained look or nothing. Though it should be obvious that she would be used to his by now, it still is something to behold. Pulling back, Naruto slammed back into Hinata. Quickie? He asked. Looked down at his wife, her face flushed, her moans loud, and there is a smile on her face. He knows that one well. Naruto remembered what he told himself earlier. He is selfless, he is a selfless lover. He had his moment of selfishness. Hell, he enjoyed it not too long ago. This is for Hinata right now. Despite herself, she still nodded. His rammed back into her. She was gonna come soon. She hardly cared if it was too fast or too long. Please touch my clit, Naruto-kun. That took all her will to say without moaning. He nodded. Of course, come for me, baby, he ordered as his hand went down and he pressed his thumb against her clit. He rubbed it at a slow pace as he thrust it into her. She clenched around him, and he knew she was coming. Yes, she yelled. Her mouth opened into a "oh" as her body spasmed. She knew Naruto was still thrusting, probably trying to get more out of her orgasm. She'd have to repay him. Hinata slumped on the desk, panting lightly, trying to get her bearings, but couldn't. It seemed she was more tired than she realized. Naruto smiled down at his half-asleep wife as he pulled his from her. I'll take you home, don't worry, he reassured her as he picked her up bridal style. He heard Cyan snuggle against his chest. He was about to body flicker to his home, then he remembered Hanabi. He looked back toward her, giving her a smile. She was smirking at him. That was sweet, but. She paused. You're Na-kun. And if you haven't noticed, this place is kind of reeks of, and has a lot of messes around, she said, looking at him playfully. Was he just gonna leave her here to clean up? I know, it's not like I was gonna walk there, he responded with a playful look of his own. And I was gonna come back, I am just going to put Hinata in bed so she can rest. He reassured the other sister. Then one last smile at her, he disappeared. Hanabi sighed as she got up. Might as well get start on cleaning, she damn sure wasn't going to have with him when he came back, she is sore as hell, she wasn't lying about that. It hurt to even clench her walls, the pleasure must have clouded all that or something. She smiled even with the thoughts and the pain. I think I might more than like him very much. Little after the events of the Great Scream Night. Yes, people named that night, a voice screaming out the name of the Hokage was heard all across Konoha. Many people believe it to be Hinata, but of course no ever knows. Naruto did still dive into Hyuga business, and surprisingly, it wasn't as dirty as he thought it would be. Hiashi still worked in the best interest of his clan, however. They were, the Hyuga, very forthcoming with information, much to the Hokage's shock. They told him since he was family and the leader of the village, he had every right to know how they ran business, they were damn right too. And well, as stated before, their business was rather clean. Naruto didn't know what he thought he'd find. Maybe things like some drama-inducing stuff as selling Konoha secrets, plans to coup, or desert the village. Things of that juicy nature. The dirtiest thing was the suitor stuff, and they abandoned that plan after last events. Speaking of, turns out it was a noble from a not too distant city and he got a little too handsy with Hanabi. The whole purpose was to secure that city's connection with Konoha, the Hyuga, and since that failed due to that man being a pure asshole, that city sent its sincerest apologies and wrote a treaty with Konoha anyways, forming an alliance. And since we are still on the Hyuga, month after all this, they, Naruto and Hinata and Hanabi, decided it was time to tell Hiashi about their new relationship. Of course, the fact Hanabi didn't want to be a secret added majorly to the decision. Plus, she also wanted to have her father's blessing to marry Naruto. It's a big deal for her apparently. Hinata got her blessings, but the man didn't even attend their wedding. Kakashi is the one that walked her down. Hiashi's initial reaction shouldn't have surprised to anyone. He yelled out in rage, then tried to attack Naruto, but with his two daughters there, his outburst was very short-lived. Naruto remembers that fondly. Hyuga clan head office. Get out of my way. Hiashi roared each word at his daughters as they stood defiantly between him and the Hokage. He sneered at remembering the stature of the boy behind his daughters. Just because he's the Hokage doesn't give him any right to have both his daughters. He didn't know what kind of mind trick this blonde was playing on them, but he wouldn't stand for it. Hinata and Hanabi leveled him with furious glares. Hanabi was the first to speak. I will not, she roared, stepping up to her father. He looked at her shocked. She has never acted this way towards him. And trust me, it's for your own good that I don't. She added offhandedly. And that's a fact. Naruto would wipe the floor with Hiashi. He's Hokage for a reason, for Kami's sakes. Following suit, Hinata stepped up beside her sister. Hiashi's shocked expression went to her. She right. I won't let you even attempt to harm our husband. She spat, shocking the head even more. He has never even seen Hinata talk in such a way. Then he remembered she said, R. He opened his mouth to speak defiantly, but was interrupted. I don't want to hear anything from you right now, Dad, other than giving your approval for me to marry Naruto. His youngest daughter said icily. She wasn't married to Naruto yet, but she still considered him as a husband. They were close enough, that's for sure. Hence why Hinata said, R. He frowned deeply and looked to Naruto. The blonde has the nerve to smile at him. He opened his mouth again to say something, but was again interrupted. Father, you have done enough. Hinata spoke, getting his attention. He looked at her confused. You pushed me away, basically disowned me when me and Naruto was wed. The very least you can do now is give Hanabi your blessings. She spoke softly, like the Hinata he knew. He pursed his lips. He has already admitted he handled Naruto and Hinata wrong, but this was a different case, wasn't it? His eyes went to Hanabi, then to Naruto, then back to Hinata. Was fate giving him a chance to right his wrong? He does also want to properly be a part of his grandkid's life. Bu. No buts, old man. Hanabi interrupted immediately. She didn't want to hear anything except okay right now from him. You know I'm going to be clan head soon, so I'll be marrying him anyway without your blessings and approval, but you're my father. She stated the last part with a sigh. It was true, she'd be getting the head title in the future, it was confirmed. But she wanted his freaking blessings, and his approval cause despite all his flaws, she still loved him. You wronged me, father, but you can't change that and I'll never forgive you for that. Hinata spoke up, earning a hurt look from her Hiyashi. But this is your chance to do right by Hanabi and Naruto. She finished, crossing her arms under her ample chest. She'll never forgive her father. It's not like her to hold a grudge, that would be true, and she may be exaggerating even a bit by saying, never forgive, but what he did hurt her massively and she's not ready to overlook that. Their father started, but went quiet as both of his daughters leveled him with a stern look, so much like their mother. He sighed in defeat. Fine, okay, I give my blessings and approval as Hyuga clan head Hanabi for you to marry the Uzumaki. He said flatly, obviously not pleased with the thought. He turned to go to his seat, then sat down with another defeated sigh. When he gave Hanabi right to marry and or see whomever she wanted, he didn't think it would be the same man as her sister. Hanabi squealed while jumping to hug Naruto, very pleased with what she just heard. Her sister joined their hug. Letting go of them, Hanabi looked back at her father, who is now scowling at his desk. Oh, and father dear. She started getting his attention. He looked at her, his face schooled with a blank expression. You will be attending my wedding. She growled, leveling him with a glower. Fine. He sighed. It's not like he was planning on missing this one anyway, he's learned his lesson. And that's how much Naruto remembered of that little event. He couldn't remember if Hiyashi said more or not, he just remembered how awesome his girls were standing up to him, and how he looked so taken back that both of them were giving him so much shit. It was glorious. After that, Hanabi practically told anyone and everyone she was marrying the Hokage. She got the crazy eye, of course, from most. Their friends, however, went to Naruto for answers, and when he confirmed it, all he got was, Hokage office. Naruto, how could you do this to Hinata? Ino yelled in his office, giving the blonde one of the, if looks could kill, stares. I knew something fishy was going with Hanabi. But what about Hinata, man? Shikamaru said, he knew something was going on, never let it go his head though. He had thought Naruto would never cheat on Hinata. Looks like he was wrong. How could he do this to that poor girl? What about your kids, Naruto? Sakura screamed, looking at Naruto the same way as Ino. They weren't even that old and he was one of those husbands who liked him young. Whole blonde shit, she oughta kick his for doing this to Hinata. Hinata. She wonders how the poor girl is handling this news. Does the poor girl even know? I never thought you had it in you, man. I'm impressed. Kiba howled, wanting to walk up to the blonde and fist bump him, and punch him at the same time. It's weird. On one hand, he's Hanabi, who was one fine girl. Don't get him wrong, Hinata is cute and all, but she has kids and probably ain't got a tight body anymore. On the other hand, it's Hinata, the girl tired to kill herself like 2 times for the blonde idiot and just for him to cheat on her. With her sister no less. That's up. Silence. Kiba. Naruto, your actions are despicable. Shino reprimanded. I'm gonna agree with Shino there. Choji mumbled. Not sure if he still believed it or not, this just didn't sound like Naruto at all. Sasuke merely stared at his old friend. He didn't know either of the Hyuga sisters that well. He had only been back a short while, but was surprised when Hanabi had come talking about a marriage to Naruto. Wasn't he with Hinata? This confused Sasuke greatly. Guys, he sounded. They all looked at him intensely. He gave them all a sheepishly smile. Hinata kinda knows. He told them. Oh great, so Hinata knows you're cheating on her and you about to marry her sister. Sakura screeched, ready to pummel Naruto into the ground. How could he sit there so calmly and act like this? Well, no. I mean, yes. But not in the way you think. He said with a nervous chuckle. They all gave him a confused look. You see, he started, looked at each of his friends. One by one. Hinata knows about me and Hanabi because we're all in a relationship together. He stated, shit, even he felt confused from what he just said, so their even more confused stares didn't surprise him. Damn it, look, Hinata and Hanabi are both my wives, I'm not cheating on Hinata, in fact, she encouraged Hanabi to seduce to me in the first place. Look guys, long story short, me, Hinata and Hanabi are in a relationship and both of them are gonna be my wives. He finished, hoping his friends understood that. Sakura stared stupidly. Hinata encouraged Hanabi to seduce Naruto, her inner self bellowed. Ino had the same look. Well damn man, good shit. Kiba chirped while walking up and fist bumping his friend. What? Guy getting two chicks to marry him willingly is worth a fist bump, hell, worth a damn award of some kind. Both Hyuga heiresses. That's a dream come true. Choji just stared at the blonde, he's never heard of this type of relationship. That explains why I have seen the three happily together so much in recent memory. Shikamaru thought with a sigh. He had seen Hinata yesterday and she looked fine. He's sure if Naruto ever left her or cheated on her, the girl would be broken. She's not exactly a pro at hiding her emotion. Naruto was just oblivious in his younger years. Shino simply stared, processing the information. How was it possibly for three nests to be together at the same time in such a way? It would be a mass panic, wouldn't it? So the Dobi is going to have two wives. Sasuke mumbled to himself, his eyes going to Sakura then Ino. After that, he of course had to explain their relationship even further. Mostly to Sakura and Ino, those two were the most curious for some odd reason. Day later, Sasuke came inquiring, and that was very odd. Week later, Sakura wanted to pummel Sasuke cause he wanted to have two wives too apparently, the other being a now single Ino, her inside didn't work out for obvious reasons. Of course, sometime in the future, Sasuke did get what he want. Months after all that goodness, life sailed. Hanabi was still planning a wedding, Naruto was still a vacationing Hokage, yes he took on and off again vacations, it became routine for Shikamaru to sub in for any given number of days. And Hinata was still a full-time mother, not to mention by this time, was showing that she is pregnant. She had been avoiding sleeping Naruto cause she knew she couldn't explain away her baby bump hiding under her baggy clothes, not that he pressured her much with Hanabi around and very, very, willing. But when he did want his wife, or felt like he was neglecting her, she would avoid it. Until of course she couldn't hide it anymore. And then wondered why she was hiding it in the first place. Naruto celebrated when he found out, then did his own avoidance of sleeping with her like he did with her previous pregnancies, until her hormones became too much, and he caved. He avoided because he thinks he harms the infants inside her by pounding her. Hinata and Hanabi had a good laugh at that. Times move on. Hanabi was elected Hyuga clan head and shortly after married Naruto. Hayase indeed attended, and walked her down. And then a month later, Hinata had twins. Two boys, one showed signs of having red hair, which surprised Hinata, but Naruto explained to her his family hair color, or rather, his mom's hair color, so he explained to her that it was a possibility. Their other child had blue hair. Naruto named the red-haired one, Minato. Looking at that red-haired kid reminded him too much of his parents. Hinata named their other newborn, Hisao. Thinking of her and Naruto's life and how far they have came, and her also thought of her father, he has changed a lot and was an active part of their kid's life, she still wasn't ready to forgive him even so. Naruto for the most part had to take more time off to spend with his kids, of course that put more stress on Shikamaru, but the guy's marriage wasn't all roses anyway so that give him a good escape. Don't get the Nara wrong, him and Tamari weren't splitting up or anything of the sort, but they just want different things right now, and it's putting a huge bump in their relationship, but it's a bump they can get over. Time moves on. 3 years later, Naruto's birthday. Are you guys sure? Naruto asked, looking to each of his wives. They had the mansion completely to themselves, yes, mansion. Shortly after having Minato and Hisao, their little place felt too small and the vacant Hokage mansion suddenly looked all too appealing. They moved in it almost immediately. They even hired a housekeeper, nanny, 2 of them to help Hinata with the kids on a daily basis. He knew Boruto was a handful, Minato was getting there. Speaking of kids, they were at a sleepover, hosted by Choji, and they gave the nannies the night off. So they had the place completely to themselves for this special night. Hanabi, who looked older and more developed, raised an eyebrow at him, her hair in a high smooth ponytail. As clan head, she's been busy, so she rarely got busy with Naruto lately, this he should know, and judging by all the rug rats they had running around, she doubts he's gotten any with Hinata. Instead of responding to his question, she looked toward Hinata. Feeling eyes on her, Hinata looked to Hanabi. Their eyes met. As if having a spiritual connection, Hanabi nodded, followed suit by Hinata. They both discarded their robes, the items falling simultaneously on the floor, leaving the 2 sisters in front of their husband. The Hokage's eyes widened. It's been a while since he's seen any of the 2. His eyes raked over the younger wife first. Her grew to a respectable sizes. Not Hinata's size, mind you, but a size any woman would be content with. His eyes went lower, his mouth went dry. She grew that designed line of well-kept pubic hair back. He did inform her he liked it. Her is also dripping. It seems she wants this more than he could ever know. His eyes then went to the other wife. She returned her hair to the Heim cut from her childhood. He liked it any way she did her hair. His eyes went down. He licked his lips. If there is one thing he had to admire about Hinata, it's that she stayed in shape despite having all his rugrats. He didn't know how she did that. Looking down further, he licked his lips. Like Hanabi, she was dripping, but what really got his to twitch was the fact she had a neatly kept patch of pubic hair above her. What? He really liked his women with some hair on them. It's something he didn't know he liked until Hanabi came along. All his thought processing stopped when he saw Hanabi step forward to Hinata, then leaned up to press her lips to her sister's. The groan that followed was involuntary. He has never seen them kiss. He has never asked them to, has he thought about? Of course, he's a man, goddammit. As their kiss deepened, both women moaning, Naruto felt he had too much on. He quickly threw off the robe, and stepped to the women. When he stopped in front of them, they broke their kiss with a wet sound and saliva trail indicating there had been a lot of tongue, and he doubted that was their first time kissing each other. The sisters looked at him, both giving him cheeky grins. Took you long enough, Hanabi growled, looking at him hungrily. Hinata looked down at his erection. Oh, how she has missed it. Naruto smirked at them as he put his hands together. Puff, a clone of his appeared beside him, just as. What? You didn't think I'd let you both work me to death, huh? His clone chirped, looking Hinata and Hanabi up just as the real Naruto had done moments earlier. The real Naruto smirked. He was planning on the hell out of both his wives. His clone here was going to help with that. The sisters exchanged glances. I'll take the real one first. The younger wife said. Hinata gave her a understanding nod. This night was gonna be special for a reason. Hanabi looked at real Naruto and grabbed him. No foreplay tonight, at least for the start. She whispered to him while turning them so his back was facing the very large bed, then pushed him down on it. She was gonna ride him for all he was worth. Hanabi straddled him. She then grabbed his rod at the center and rubbed him against her slit. She's sure he knew his well by now, but she hasn't had him a bit, so she was sure this reintroduction would be somewhat painful. Here goes nothing. She sighed inwardly, then lowered herself on him. They both groaned. Averting her eyes from them, Hinata looked at the clone Naruto. You won't go puff with a little skin slapping, would you? She asked unashamed. She was talking to Naruto still. Even then, she's really horny. She doesn't care how she sounds right now. He eyes up his first wife. Of course not, babe. I'm harder than I look. He joked, his eyebrows wagging. His seemed to like the joke too as it twitched. Not convinced, Hinata turned, facing the bed. Even so, she started, then got on all fours on the bed. She looked back at the clone Naruto. You should go at your own pace. She continued, then reached back to spread her cheek, giving the clone a good view of her dripping cunt. Naruto too didn't waste as he slammed into her, plus he wanted to prove he wasn't some fragile clone, he could do some skin slapping, damn it. Ah, he heard her moan while he slammed back into her hard, their skin slapping together again, he could definitely handle some skin slapping. Hanabi raised herself then went back down on the Naruto, she was setting her own pace, she heard him groan. His still hit everywhere in her, but she didn't see stars like the first 10 to 20 times they had which means she was well adjusted to his, her pussy's memory is very good. Moaning a little, she almost could tune out her sister and the other Naruto having loud next to them. She looked over their way out of curiosity. Hinata has her face buried in the mattress and barely could contain her moans as the other Naruto slammed into her relentlessly, his big fat burrowing into her effortlessly. Hanabi's insides clenched, a new wave of excitement ran through her. Looking back down at Naruto, she saw he was looking at his clone Hinata. Then she realized. That was his clone. A clone of Naruto. Meaning the clone was basically the real Naruto, just dispensable. All this means is, the real Naruto wants to her like his clone is doing to Hinata right now. Hanabi leaned down. Want to me like that, Na-kun? She whispered huskily into his ear. Real Naruto snapped back to attention, he got lost in watching a bit, he didn't forget his beautiful wife riding him. How could he? She's him, just not the way he would like at the moment. But her question, did she want him too? Very much so. He replied as she leaned back, their eyes meeting. She smiled at him, she grabbed his hands then placed them on either side of her hips, he gripped her tight, tight enough that he would leave a handprint even. Waiting for an invitation, she mused as she placed her hands on his chest, she might need stability for this. A growl was her response. Naruto lifted her, and just as he was about to bring her back down, he thrusted up into her without mercy, their meeting in a loud slap that filled the room. Oh, she moaned out as he repeated the process. She started to claw his chest as he did it again, seemingly picking up pace. Stars immediately blurred her vision, she blinked them back. Naruto grunted as he slammed into her again, his filling her up to the brim over and over and over again. Her and Hinata's moan were sweet singing to his ears, one of his hands left her hips to paw at her tits, it's been a while since he left a mark on them. Clone Naruto grunted as he leaned forward, now grinding into her. I'm sorry, I think I'm coming soon. He whispered into his wife's ear then leaned back, one hand on her hip as he pounded her, the other playing with her clit. She barely heard him, she was well on her way to coming as well. She death gripped the bed sheets. Yes, she cried in ecstasy as she came, her legs gave out immediately and her lower body fell onto the bed, the clone quickly followed her down, obviously close and started pounding her again, this time into the bed and harder. Oh, she moaned one last time, her body spasming once more. She then slumped completely on the bed, the clone's erratic thrusting revealed he was coming. As the clone came, he shot the real Naruto a apologetic glance. Sorry boss. He mumbled as he filled Hinata with his cum, he squeezed his eyes shut, then, puff. The clone dispersed and so did its cum and sweat. Naruto's eyes widened as he was assaulted with feelings images of his clone with Hinata. Oh damn, Naruto moaned as he sheeted himself one last time in Hanabi then came deep in her. Her eyes went wide too, she couldn't remember a time when he came before her while he was in her. It felt good, his hot cum shooting in her. This new feeling, or the first time she actually felt this without climaxing herself tossed her over the edge and she came herself. She bit her lip and closed her eyes as she spasmed on top of him, it felt like one of those guilty pleasure orgasms. He let one last spurt into her before slumping, laying back on the bed, his arms spread wide. He nearly jumped when he felt Hanabi slump, her hands pressing into his chest to hold herself up. Then Hinata scoots her way into one of his arms, he wrapped it around her, pulling her close. Still panting, Hanabi looked to Hinata. Ready? She asked. Yay. She replied. Hanabi then eased her way off of her Naruto, she then grabbed his, she stroked it couple times till it was fully erect again. Wait, lemme make a clone foe. He was silenced when Hinata sheeted him to hilt in her warm tunnels, instead he groaned loudly as she started riding him, his hands flew to her hips to help her along. Did he mention he always loved how her tits bounced when she rode him? He shivered when he felt Hanabi lick his earlobe, were they trying to make him come again so soon? Naruto. Her hot breath tickled him in a way. No clones, babe, she said, biting his earlobe lightly then releasing it. It's your birthday, she said, then his earlobe into her mouth, he moaned. He felt Hinata bend down, slowing her ride, and on his other ear. Tonight, we are going to you for all you are worth, which is a lot. She finished, then slid her hand between their bodies to run her finger across his nipple, then twisted it. Oh, sweet Cammy.